Looking for mind-bending sci-fi that hits you right in the chest? I have 15 cinematic masterpieces lined up that trade mere space travel for massive ideas and raw emotional scale. Welcome back to Screen Curator. From nonlinear time to cosmic father-son journeys, add these to your queue immediately. Imagine 12 monolithic seed-like spacecraft hovering silently over the Earth, throwing global governments into a cold, defensive panic. This is the chillingly quiet starting line of Denis Villeneuve's science fiction masterpiece, Arrival. Instead of guns and laser fire, the weapon of choice here is linguistics. The military recruits Dr. Louise Banks, played with a bruised, brilliant vulnerability by Amy Adams, to do the impossible, translate the ink-splattered circular language of an alien species that has no concept of linear time. As Louise begins to decipher their symbols, her own mind begins to warp, collapsing her past, present, and future into a single, overwhelming stream. Much like Interstellar, this film understands that the vast, terrifying scale of the cosmos is best measured by the human heart. It trades sterile high-tech labs for a dirty sci-fi aesthetic, framed by Bradford Young's moody natural light, and elevated by a haunting, avant-garde score of vocal tape loops that practically vibrates in your chest. Arrival is a masterclass in tension, delivering a deeply personal journey about grief, choice, and what it truly means to connect with the unknown. If you crave science fiction that challenges your mind while completely devastating your emotions, this is your perfect starting point. Moving into our 14th spot, we find ourselves tuning into the cosmic frequencies of Robert Zemeckis' 1997 masterpiece, Contact. If the emotional gravity of Interstellar left you aching for another story where the infinite void of space is anchored by a child's love for their father, this is your next essential watch. Jodie Foster stars as Dr. Ellie Arroway, a fiercely brilliant radio astronomer who spends her nights beneath the towering dishes of Puerto Rico, listening to the static of the universe. While her colleagues dismiss her search as a fool's errand, Ellie is fueled by the memory of her late father, seeking some echo of connection in the dark. Her obsession pays off when she intercepts a rhythmic, pulsing signal broadcasting prime numbers from the star Vega. But this is no mere greeting. Tucked inside the transmission are blueprints for a colossal, single-passenger machine built to tear through space-time. Contact is a breathtaking experience because it sidesteps typical explosive alien invasion tropes, choosing instead to focus on the profound philosophical awe of what discovery actually means for humanity. It is a brilliant, heart-wrenching ride about whether we truly have the faith to step into the unknown. Coming in at number 13 on our list, Damien Chazelle's masterwork First Man is an absolute must-watch if you want to experience the sheer, terrifying weight of touching the stars. Instead of the clean, triumphant patriotism we usually get with the space race, this film straps you directly inside the cockpit of a tin can that feels like it's vibrating itself to pieces. You feel the screeching metal of the X-15 rocket plane, the claustrophobic panic of being bolted into a machine barely holding together, and the deafening roar of engines that sound more like monsters than triumphs of engineering. But what makes this journey truly rival Interstellar is its emotional gravity. Ryan Gosling plays Neil Armstrong not as a hollow icon, but as a father quietly drowning in grief after the loss of his young daughter. The film brilliantly mirrors this isolation by shifting its very canvas, shooting his chaotic earthly life on grainy, handheld 16mm film before bursting into the silent, breathtaking expanse of 70mm IMAX when he finally reaches the lunar surface. It is a stunning, deeply human epic about using the infinite void of space to escape a quiet, crushing pain. Coming in at number 12 is Danny Boyle's underappreciated masterpiece, Sunshine. If you crave the existential awe of Interstellar, this journey to the heart of our dying star is essential viewing. Set in a freezing future, a crew aboard the Icarus II travels toward the sun carrying a massive stellar payload meant to jumpstart the dying star. It is hard science fiction meets psychological pressure cooker. What makes Sunshine so breathtaking is how it flips traditional horror on its head. Instead of fearing the dark, the threat here is blinding absolute light. The sun is treated not just as a destination, but as an overwhelming, godlike entity that slowly unravels the sanity of the crew, especially when they detour to find the long-lost Icarus I. Backed by John Murphy's legendary soaring score, the film turns the cold mechanics of space travel into a deeply spiritual trial of human sacrifice. It is a stunning visual marvel where the golden glare of solar radiation feels both incredibly beautiful and terrifyingly lethal. For anyone who loves sci-fi that hits you in the chest as much as the brain, this is your next destination. Coming in at number 11 on our list is Lars von Trier's apocalyptic masterpiece, Melancholia. If Interstellar looks at the stars with pioneering hope, this film gazes at them with a majestic, paralyzing dread. The story splits itself in two. First, a lavish, disintegrating wedding reception where Justine, played with raw vulnerability by Kirsten Dunst, struggles to survive a suffocating wave of clinical depression. Then the cosmos intervenes. A rogue planet, aptly named Melancholia, emerges from behind the sun on a direct collision course with Earth. But here is the film's stroke of psychological genius. As the giant blue planet looms larger in the night sky and the healthy characters descend into hysterics and terror, Justine grows uncannily serene. Having lived with a mind that always felt like the end of the world, she is the only one prepared for the actual apocalypse. Backed by the soaring, tragic strains of Richard Wagner's Tristan und Isolde, the film transforms a massive cosmic event into the ultimate metaphor for mental illness. It is a visually staggering, emotionally crushing experience that uses the grandest scale imaginable to explain the quietest, darkest corners of the human psyche. Coming in at number 10 is James Gray's haunting cosmic odyssey, Ad Astra. While many science fiction epics look outward to the stars to save humanity, this film turns its gaze inward, using the freezing void of deep space as a mirror for the human soul. We follow Brad Pitt's Major Roy McBride, an astronaut so pathologically detached that his heart rate famously never climbs above 80 beats per minute, even when plummeting from the edge of space. But his icy composure is pushed to its absolute limit when he is sent on a classified journey to the edge of our solar system to find his legendary long-lost father, played with chilling distance by Tommy Lee Jones. The elder McBride was thought dead, but his rogue space station near Neptune is now emitting cosmic surges that threaten all life on Earth. Director of photography Hoyt van Hoytema crafts a vision of the future that feels incredibly tactile, capturing silent, terrifying rover chases in the ink-black shadows of the moon. It is a slow-burn, deeply psychological thriller for anyone who prefers their space travel with a heavy dose of emotional gravity, trading bombastic action for a powerful study of generational trauma. Slid into number 9 on our countdown is Duncan Jones's brilliant debut, Moon. If you loved Interstellar's isolation but want something that trades sweeping galaxies for a heartbreaking, intimate space station mystery, this is your next obsession. We follow Sam Bell, played with stunning vulnerability by Sam Rockwell. Sam is a blue-collar astronaut nearing the end of a lonely 3-year contract harvesting helium-3 on the far side of the lunar surface. His only companion is Gertie, an artificial intelligence with a polite digital smiley face. Sam is just weeks away from returning home to his wife and daughter. But after a devastating rover accident outside the base, he wakes up in the infirmary only to find he is not alone. In fact, he discovers another version of himself, throwing his entire reality into a tailspin. Instead of flashy computer-generated graphics, Moon relies on physical miniature models and a haunting, piano-driven score by Clint Mansell to craft a tactile, claustrophobic masterpiece. It is a tension wire act that asks what happens when your own memories are no longer yours to trust. It is deeply human, devastatingly quiet, and absolutely demands your attention. At number 8, we plunge into the terrifying, beautiful silence of gravity. Unlike Interstellar's grand odyssey across galaxies, Alfonso Cuarón constructs an agonizingly intimate survival thriller that takes place entirely in our own backyard, in high orbit above Earth. We follow Dr. Ryan Stone, a grieving medical engineer on her first mission who is cast adrift into the black void after a catastrophic chain reaction of satellite debris decimates her shuttle. There is no sound in space, and Cuarón weaponizes this scientific truth. You do not hear explosions, you hear the frantic, suffocating sound of Stone's own hyperventilating breath inside her helmet, contrasted against the agonizing silence of the cosmos. To capture this weightless nightmare, the production pioneered a giant LED light box that casts the spinning glow of the Earth onto Sandra Bullock's face, creating a visual realism that makes you feel the visceral terror of tumbling through the dark. It is a masterpiece of relentless white-knuckle tension, but beneath the orbital hazards lies a deeply moving story about choosing to live after profound personal loss. If you want a film that matches Nolan's cosmic dread and emotional heartbeat, this is your next stop. At number 7, we are reaching into the cosmos with Darren Aronofsky's breathtaking masterpiece, The Fountain. This is a film that takes the grand, dimensional, spanning grief of Interstellar and distills it into an intimate visual prayer across 1,000 years of human history. We follow Hugh Jackman as a man obsessed with conquering death, playing 3 roles across 3 eras: a 16th century Spanish conquistador in the Mayan jungle, a modern-day neuroscientist desperately searching for a brain cancer cure, and a 26th century astronaut floating through deep space inside a transparent biosphere toward a dying star. Aronofsky eschewed standard digital effects, instead filming chemical reactions and ink under a microscope to create golden organic nebulas that feel tactile and alive. Soundtracked by Clint Mansell's devastating score, which blends the Kronos Quartet with the post-rock wall of sound from Mogwai, the film builds an overwhelming emotional crescendo. If you want a story where love is not just an emotion, but a cosmic, gravity-defying force capable of bridging life and death, this gorgeous, aching puzzle box is absolute poetry. It is a stunning visual and auditory journey that will leave you staring at the ceiling long after the credits roll. If you felt the vast, aching loneliness of space in Interstellar, then our 6th spot, Blade Runner 2049, is the next masterpiece you need to experience. Director Denis Villeneuve takes us 30 years after the events of the original classic, introducing us to Officer K, played with a quiet, tragic restraint by Ryan Gosling. K is a replicant, a synthetic human designed to hunt down his own rogue kind. But during a routine sweep on a desolate protein farm, he unearths a long-buried box beneath a dead tree. Inside is a miracle that threatens to shatter the delicate boundary between human and machine, proof of a replicant birth. Suddenly, Kay's cold, programmed existence is entirely upended, sending him on a desperate journey to find the missing Rick Deckard. Cinematographer Roger Deakins bathes this journey in legendary light, shifting from the rain-choked neon blue canyons of Los Angeles to the blinding, radioactive amber ruins of Las Vegas. Backed by Hans Zimmer's earth-shattering, subharmonic synth score, the film turns a massive dystopian detective story into a heartbreakingly intimate search for meaning and identity. If you crave science fiction with giant philosophical ideas and even grander visual poetry, you must let this stunning cinematic experience sweep you away. At number 5, we find ourselves crossing the threshold of the shimmer in Alex Garland's mind-bending sci-fi masterpiece, Annihilation. Where Interstellar looked to the stars for humanity's salvation, this film travels inward, exploring a quarantined coastal zone where an alien anomaly is quietly rewriting the laws of nature. We follow Lena, a biologist played by Natalie Portman, who volunteers for a dangerous expedition into this beautiful nightmare after her soldier husband returns from it near death and behaviorally hollowed out. Inside the shimmer, DNA behaves like light passing through a prism, refracting and blending plant, animal, and human biology together. Garland crafts an ecosystem that is as mesmerizing as it is horrifying, shifting from lush, vibrant forests where flowers grow in the shape of people to the chilling terror of a mutated bear that screams with the literal voice of its last human victim. This isn't just a physical survival story, it's a deeply atmospheric sensory descent into the human instinct for self-destruction. If you want a brilliant sci-fi thriller that pairs jaw-dropping visual dread with an emotional sting that lingers for days, this haunting trip is essential viewing. Sliding into our number 4 spot is Cloud Atlas, a film so staggeringly ambitious it practically redefines what cinema can capture in a single breath. Imagine 6 distinct stories separated by 500 years, colliding in a massive symphony of human experience. We travel from a grueling 19th century Pacific Sea voyage to a dystopian neon-drenched neo-soul, watching the exact same core ensemble of actors play different souls reincarnated across generations. Their physical forms shift across centuries, but they remain bound by a recurring comet-shaped birthmark and the haunting melodic echoes of the fictional Cloud Atlas sextet. For anyone who felt their heart swell during Interstellar's dimension-crossing climax, this is the ultimate spiritual cousin. Directors Lana and Lily Wachowski, alongside Tom Tykwer, craft a sweeping genre-spanning kaleidoscope of sci-fi, period drama, and romance. It is an independent epic built on the grand idea that every small act of kindness or cruelty ripples outward to shape the future of humanity. Cloud Atlas does not just ask you to watch a story, it invites you to feel the invisible, eternal threads that tie us all together, delivering a visceral, emotional payoff that will linger for weeks. At number 3, we have Steven Spielberg's haunting masterpiece, AI Artificial Intelligence. Born from a decades-long creative handoff between Stanley Kubrick's chilling existentialism and Spielberg's emotional sincerity, this film is a staggering companion to Interstellar's blend of cosmic scale and intimate grief. We follow David, a prototype robotic child programmed with the terrifyingly pure capacity for unconditional lifelong love. When his adoptive mother abandons him in a dark, predatory forest with only his robotic teddy bear for company, David embarks on a desperate odyssey to find the blue fairy from the Pinocchio myth, believing she can turn him into a real boy and win back his mother's affection. Instead of a sterile, formulaic techno-thriller, you get a deeply melancholic epic that contrasts terrifying spectacles like the neon-drenched Rouge City with Janusz Kaminski's hazy fairy tale lighting and John Williams' hauntingly beautiful score. It's a beautifully agonizing ride that asks, if a machine can feel a love this boundless, what is our responsibility to it? If you want a film that pairs jaw-dropping sci-fi concepts with a devastating punch to the gut, this is the journey you need to experience. At number 2 on our list, we find Jeff Nichols' underappreciated masterpiece, Midnight Special. The story drops us immediately into a tense, nocturnal escape across the American South. We watch a desperate father, played with fierce intensity by Michael Shannon, driving a speeding car through the pitch-black night with the headlights taped shut. In the backseat sits his young son, Alton, wearing blue goggles to contain a blinding, supernatural power surging from his eyes. They are running from a fanatical religious cult that deifies the boy, and a relentless federal government led by Adam Driver's curious NSA agent that fears him. Shot on glorious 35mm film, this is a sci-fi thriller that trades loud exposition for moody, magic hour atmospheres and quiet, high-stakes human behavior. It echoes the awe of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but anchors its cosmic scale in a deeply intimate emotional truth. You will not find massive spaceship dogfights here. Instead, you get a gut-wrenching portrait of parental love, the sheer terrifying weight of protecting a child who is destined for something far beyond our world, and the agonizing beauty of letting them go. At the absolute summit of our journey, crowning our list as the ultimate masterpiece of high concepts and bruising human emotion, is Andrew Nichols' sci-fi masterpiece, Gattaca. While other films look to the stars with cold equations, this stunning retro-future noir focuses on the sheer, terrifying friction of the human spirit refusing to be measured. We follow Vincent, a naturally born man classified as genetically flawed, who dares to dream of space travel in a world where your career is decided at birth by a drop of blood. To bypass the system, he buys the identity of a paralyzed elite athlete, embarking on a daily, agonizing ritual of scrubbing off his own dead skin cells and concealing synthetic pouches of urine and blood just to pass the morning security checkpoints. With a murder investigation closing in right before his scheduled launch to Saturn, the tension is suffocating. Bathed in a sickly golden sepia-toned light and driven by Michael Nyman's towering, heart-wrenching orchestral score, Gattaca doesn't just ask if we can outrun our destiny, it proves that the human heart is something no sequence of DNA can ever truly calculate. It is the definitive companion to Interstellar, a sweeping, poetic testament to our beautiful, flawed humanity. Because wrestling with the literal edge of the universe is easy compared to the sheer psychological terror of messing with the timeline. If you loved how Interstellar used hard sci-fi concepts to explore massive emotional stakes, you'll want to check out our breakdown of mind-bending time travel movies that will completely destroy your perception of reality. Hit subscribe and click the video on screen right now.